This week on the Rouge, White, and Blue, if I am not interrupted, we have a guest. Hey, how about this? And it's another chapter in I Can't Believe How Much Time Flies. We'll be back after this. Hello and welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co-host of the show. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Joe Pritchard, sporting the Winnipeg Blue. Joe, how you doing today?
All right. Just trying to figure out how that little mishap at the beginning happened, but I'll have that solved for next week. Maybe.
It's the remix. The RWB intro remix. Okay. We're going to get started. We're bringing on a guest today. We're bringing on Alex Dormuth of the Piffles Podcast. But before we begin, Joe, I have this news item. I need you to confirm this for me. Okay? I was looking on the official website, cfl.ca, and I saw that. Wait a minute. There's a game on Monday at 1 p.m. in the afternoon? Really? Is this really happening?
Because they have the uneven number of teams, right? So one team or one of the preseason games gets kicked up a week.
Mm-hmm. Jesus, the season's already beginning.
Hey, last year it landed on my birthday, and it was Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. It's like I wasn't gonna watch it normally, but like I kind of had to for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's bring on our guest. Let's just get right into it. Yeah, here's Alex Dormuth. He's from the Piffles Podcast, a Saskatchewan Rough Rider-centric podcast. We're not going to have to separate you and Joe, are we, Alex?
Here, I could fix that.
There you go. There's enough room now between us. I think we're good. Riders and the Bombers are going to see each other at least 5 times this season, so there's enough animosity going to be built up through the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably best we don't start now.
We'll at least wait till the regular season, Joe.
Oh, right. Okay, regular. Well, see, but this is when you're getting in your reps, right?
That's right. That's true.
You got to get the reps in the preseason.
I mean, we're vets now. We've been doing this for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah. We get like the first week off, don't we?
Right.
Yeah, you're bringing the bench guys. Okay. So, Alex, we're just doing a free-for-all today. Let me ask you this. We just had cut downs in this past week in the NFL. Probably the biggest name was Tua's brother getting cut in Hamilton, but that's more of a name cut than a proper player cut. Any surprises to you, Alex?
Well, at least in Saskatchewan, the one that surprised me was a guy that I was big on going into the preseason. And this is based off absolutely nothing at all. It was a defensive lineman named Jordan Smith. And the reason I was high on him was, and Joe will appreciate this guy's like a Willie Jefferson clone. 6'6", 250. Just a big defensive lineman. Big giant wingspan. I mean, Willie Jefferson was with us in Saskatchewan, so we know all about him and his great skill as well.
Yeah, did he actually? I remember back in like the 2018 Banjo Bowl where he took that. God, was that an interception or a fumble? Yeah. Did he score yet on that, or is he still prancing down the field?
I think he's still prancing around, and that's why no other Banjo Bowl since then has happened yet, because they're still waiting for that one to finish. But rookie camp cuts, you're not going to see much that's going to be too surprising anyway, and teams only had to get rid of 7 or 8 guys to get down to the number that they have to be at. So, but there should be there's going to be some interesting decisions around the CFL for a lot of teams once preseason is over and those final rosters have to be made at the end of May.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, let's get into that. I was going to ask you to assess your team's off season, but let's get into that. Okay. Who's fighting for jobs in Riders Camp?
Well, I never thought I'd say this, but there's a punter duel going on.
Nice.
Our punter from last couple seasons, Adam Korsak, retired. So now it's Bailey Flint, who was in Hamilton in 2023, and Joe Couch, who is on the Riders practice roster. But that's not a very attractive training camp battle. What the Riders did this offseason, I mean, obviously, the backup quarterback is always the talk of the town here in Saskatchewan. Doesn't matter who the starting quarterback is, who's your backup? So the Riders actually upgraded this year, and I'm not a big Jake Mayer fan myself, but he's proven in this league that he can start and win some games. And the Riders didn't have that as the backup to Trevor Harris over the last couple of years. Now they do. So that eliminates one of those big battles that we normally see in training camps, especially in CFL training camps. With you usually have your starter, and the backups you don't know a lot about. So I think there's enough depth in quarterback rooms across the CFL now where teams are kind of set at their backup quarterback. There's might be a couple teams that are really looking for that second quarterback. Mm-hmm. But in Riderville, there's a couple positions here and there. When you look at their roster and what they've done over the offseason, you can pencil in a good portion of their starters, probably 11 on each side. You can pretty much guarantee are going to be starters. It's how the Riders do their ratio. That's going to be the real interesting thing from the Rough Riders side of view, because they brought Tevon Campbell back from the NFL, cornerback. And if he is good to go after kind of not playing over the last couple of years, you have your safety with Nelson Lacombo and you have a cornerback with Tevon Campbell. You have two Canadians in the defensive backfield, which doesn't happen a lot in the CFL. Usually it's just the safety position. But if you can start two Canadians there, well, now that frees up a spot for an American starter somewhere else. Maybe that's CJ Avery at linebacker, who started off last season really, really well, but the numbers game kind of pushed him into a backup role. Maybe you go with what they did on the first day of training camp was they had an American guard at right guard, and that was Jacob Brammer. And he was a very solid offensive lineman for the team last year. They went out and signed Philippe Gagnon and Sean McEwen in free agency to go with Logan Furland. So they do have the three Canadians on the interior, but maybe they can shift the ratio there. I don't think it'll happen, but there is that possibility. So I think the Riders' biggest training camp battles are going to be for ratio flexibility and who can kind of fit, like slot in where. And they can go with three Canadian receivers if they wanted to. They've done an amazing job over the last few drafts of getting a lot of good Canadian talent, good starting Canadian receivers to where they can start Kean Schaefer-Baker. You have Sam Emelis, who's a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver. And last year's third-round pick, Del Duncan Busby, had a 100-yard game last year and looked pretty good in his beginning. And there's depth behind them with Mitch Picton and Tommy Neild, who they brought over from Toronto. So they have the bodies to be able to start three Canadian receivers. So there's potential for them to flip the ratio in a couple positions.
All right. Let's see. What about okay, so I wanted to ask about free agency as well. How would you grade your free agency pickups versus your drops?
If you go from just free agency signings and just bringing in guys from other teams, I would have that grade a little bit lower. I'd have that maybe around a B plus. They upgraded on the offensive line with McEwen and Gagnon, but they didn't really do much else. A couple of the names that were done before free agency were someone like Shane Ray on the defensive line from Toronto. The issue is, can he be healthy? When he's been playing in the CFL, when he does play, puts up great numbers. But the big question, can he stay healthy? So
and so far the answer's been no across a bunch of years at this point, right?
yeah, and I'm a big Denver Broncos fan, so I was excited to see him come in, and when the Broncos drafted him years ago, and it just never panned out because he just was constantly injured. So it's not just a CFL problem that he has; it's just a long injury history for him. So I still have question marks surrounding him. I hope he can, prove me wrong here, but overall, I think their biggest wins in free agency was keeping their own free agents. The Riders had 9 all-stars last year. They kept every single one of them. Usually when someone, is an all-star, Grey Cup MVP, and then hit free agency, someone leaves because you're going to get a payday somewhere else. Jeremy O'Day managed to keep all 9 of his all-stars, which is a testament to what they're building here in Saskatchewan with Corey Mace now as the head coach. So I think the biggest thing that they did was just keep everybody. Roland Milligan signed for another year. Logan Ferland signed for 2 more years. And that's on top of their existing contracts. Keeping Marcus Sales, who was an all-star last year. They've done a very, very solid job of keeping that core group together. And we knew that going into 2024, there was going to be a lot of turnover with the team, just with a new head coach, new culture being brought in, and there was turnover. But now going into 2025, they have their guys in place. They like their group. It's just, that next step with that group, keeping that continuity together, building that offense together, building that defense together with the same guys. So I think their big win in free agency was keeping their guys together.
Mm-hmm. So you think they're ready to make that next step and win the West?
I mean, they were a really brutal freak of wind, or a wind assisted punt by Montreal at the end of last season from being in first place, or at least having a shot at first place in their final game. I don't think Winnipeg's going to start out as slow as they did last year and make that West race as tight as it was last year.
And as weird as it was too. It was
starting out, what was it, 0-4 and then 1-5 or whatever it was.
And then BC collapsing, and I think you guys had issues in the middle of the season too. And by the time we hit October, everybody was here.
Yeah, well, the Riders started out hot last year and then had that 7-game winless streak in the middle of the year, and injuries decimate. I mean, everybody has injuries, so it's not an excuse. All the Riders' injuries were on the offensive line, and that was the big problem for them. Was they had 6 different right tackles over a 7-week span. So when you're shuffling guys around, I mean, for them to be where they were in a first year with a new head coach, brand new positional coaches, and everything, I think I don't want to say they overachieved last year, because their record 9-8-1 was, I was thinking they were going to be about a 9-9 team, but to get to the West final was a big step for that franchise. And honestly, it should be between the Riders and Bombers this year for first place. I really do think the Riders have a very solid chance of winning the West.
I do too. Honestly, the Riders are ascending. They built something that can last. Now BC was in that position for the last couple of years, and now they're not. But the Riders are right on the doorstep now, and the Bombers have been steadily declining these past couple of seasons. I mean, I'll admit it. It's not looking so hot right now.
The core is getting older in Winnipeg, and
right.
We see that. I mean, why would you change the core when you're getting to the Grey Cup every year?
Oh,
right?
exactly.
You all clearly have the recipe for success, so you want to keep going.
Oh, exactly. But then you do know that this day is coming eventually, and I think it's this year. I was hoping it would last one more year. What with the Bombers hosting the Grey Cup, that would just be fantastic on my end. But I could definitely see the Riders in that Grey Cup and making that a rather interesting experience. Although we did have that happen with Winnipeg going into Saskatchewan with the Grey Cup, so
is it killing you to say this right now, Joe?
No, it's not. I'm just trying to find the right word. I could see that stadium being very East centric, except for the chunk of Rider fans that come along.
Well, if it were to be the Riders in the Grey Cup, I'm really curious to see how many people from Winnipeg would sell their tickets and would sell them to Rider fan. But would they sell them to Rider fans, or would they hold out and try to sell them to Argo fans or whoever represents the East?
No. There would be a lot of greed in that building.
Just get the money. So
it wouldn't be 50-50, but there would be a lot. The green would be really, really well represented. Just kind of like how in 2022 there was a lot of blue in that building.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else was rooting for Toronto, but there was a lot of blue in that building.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. I like it. Now, okay. Well, let's see. Where can we go from here? Let's see. All right. Well, I know you're a proper CFL fan. So game 1, you get, which is what? June. I got June 6 here. Is that correct? No. It's probably June 5 in the Americas. Thursday night game. Yeah, my clock gets adjusted automatically on CFL.ca. So you're opening the season. The Riders are hosting the Red Blacks. All right. So are you already looking forward to this game? And if so, can we have some outrageous predictions?
Of course, I'm looking forward to it. You want to know? I saved the outrageous predictions for Steve with the Piffles podcast. He's the one that predicts ties, and they usually involve the Ottawa Red Blacks. So I wouldn't be surprised if he picks that game as a tie for some reason.
Let's just hope it's not as much of a cluster as last year's tie was.
Oh, that was a disaster.
That one was like, I was sitting and watching that, and I'm like, every year we have 1 week that just gets ruined by the officials. And I just sit there and go, why do I put so much effort into this? And then the next week's always fantastic. It's like, oh yeah, that's why.
Well, and it wasn't just against the Riders. It was against Ottawa. Both teams won, and then both teams lost, and then it ended up being a tie. Like, it was just such a wacky game.
It got the ending it deserved for the way it was officiated. Absolutely.
But you know what? One of the wild things about that game was that was the first tie we've seen in the CFL since before COVID. Right? That was the first tie since 2019. So in that respect, I'm a great defender of the tie. Really? I am.
No.
Yeah. It's like win the game. It's just like, okay, you don't like the tie, then win.
I don't like teams trying to kick an extra point on a touchdown for a tie or go for, obviously how the overtime set up, you might have to go for 2 for a tie in the second overtime kind of thing. Right. But if you have a chance to win it, I'll be with you on, like, I will not defend the tie there. Go for the win. Go for the win if you have the chance to do it.
So the Herm Edwards philosophy.
Absolutely. You play to win the game. That's what it's all about. You don't go to tie.
Okay, so what are you looking at in this first game? What do you think?
Well, it should be.
Want to know?
I think without seeing rosters and health notes and all that kind of stuff,
right?
I don't see the Riders losing this game, just with it being at home, with how they started last year. Not a lot of change on that whole team, honestly. They should be ready to go. So I don't see a reason why they shouldn't win that game. Okay. But it's the CFL. It's why we watch, because something crazy could happen at any moment. I really like what Ottawa's starting to build with Bobby Dice as their head coach. They've found that players coach that really relates to everybody, and whatever he's doing there, like whatever he's selling, they're buying. So it's just with Ottawa, can Drew Brown take that next step into becoming a legitimate CFL starter and will his team to victory? I think the talent level will favor the Riders in that game. But once you kick off, you can throw talent out the window. It's who wants it more, right?
Yeah. And you're talking about Ottawa right now, but like, I'm having trouble beyond Toronto, figuring out how the East is going to play out. Because the Montreal decision to go with Davis Alexander kind of still boggles my mind.
It's a big gamble.
It's a big gamble. So let's make Oz feel a little bit worried about this. If I had to make my predictions today, I would have a hard time keeping Montreal out of the basement just based off of the fact that the quarterback position is a gamble right now. I mean, we did see good things out of Davis Alexander, but did we see enough? I don't know.
We've had so much instability at quarterback before Fajardo gave us a couple of seasons, I mean, honestly, like the last, 15 years? We've had, I don't even guess. I've got to go back and count this. Since we started this show, how many quarterbacks have we trotted out there as starters? I mean, this has been the curse of the Owls. This is why we had such a long Grey Cup drought, is because we can't get our stable quarterback. So it would not surprise me. It would not surprise me to see Davis play 5 games, and then all of a sudden now we're signing Tagliova,
And it's the McLeod Bethel Thompson experience in Montreal.
Oh man, it's the Rakeem Cato experience. We did it. We did that already, right?
Oh, you've done far worse than that.
Oh yeah, sure. But the point where the guy comes in, and since we're so desperate, for a quarterback, it's like this guy's the savior after a game or two. That kind of phenomenon.
We started off, I said I'm a Denver Broncos fan. It's the same thing with Montreal. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback that wins you championships with Peyton Manning and Denver. He retires. You think you have the next guy in place, and then you're a mess at quarterback for the next.
Since then, since then, that's the thing they haven't gotten right.
Yeah, with Anthony Calvillo, you had that Hall of Famer, one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback the CFL has ever seen. And after that, I mean, it's not fair to the next guy up to try and replace him because you can't, but that expectation is still there. So fair or not, that's what it is. And if you're not that guy, then they're going to replace you and replace you and replace you. And luckily you guys, hit that lightning in a bottle with Fajardo and Moss.
Yeah.
After Saskatchewan treated both of them so terribly. It worked out well for you guys and brought you guys a Grey Cup. So now that winning culture is back in Montreal, hopefully that does translate to a stable quarterback that's going to be there for many, many years.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're going to come in 4th in 2025. Now, I just kind of feel like part of this too is I feel like every team in the East, I don't know if Toronto improved, but every team in the East definitely addressed their issues.
Yeah,
and I almost feel like
make a good argument for anybody in the East right now.
Yeah. This is going to be a real telling week 1, week 2 for those Eastern teams.
They'll tease us in week 1 and week 2. By week 6, we'll be going, what happened in week 1 and week 2?
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is don't bet on any of those Eastern games. Okay. Got it. Whereas,
week 1 is still a preseason week. I mean, with how they rest their starters in one of the 2 preseason games, week 1 is still kind of a preseason game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of, yeah. Those first 5 or 6 games, you're still getting warmed up, I feel. Seriously, I mean, how telling is it? How many times in the past 2-3 years, now I don't mean to torment you on this one, but how many times in the past 2-3 years have we seen the Riders start 5-0, 5-1, 6-1? They're like, this is the year for the Riders. And then, BC had the epic collapse last year. The Stamps were fooling us a couple of years ago into thinking, oh yeah, they're competitive. The Magic, they might sneak into the Grey Cup, I mean, and instead they snuck into the playoffs at 6-12 that year, something like that. And so, but I feel like we were talking about the East before. I feel like in the West, this is one of the best things you can say about the Riders, is that I feel like the Riders addressed their needs and filled those holes better than all the other teams in the West. I really felt that. You had the
I
best
think
off
so.
season in the West, pound for pound.
The West could still be a huge toss-up, though. I mean,
shootout.
we talk about Winnipeg, and I mean, as long as you have Zach Collaros and Brady Oliveira, I mean, Collaros might not be the quarterback that he was before. His stats may not be what they used to be, but he still finds ways to win games. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. And that's what happened with the Bombers last year. You can make the argument that they're on the decline, sure, but it's the old Ric Flair motto: to be the man, you have to beat the man. And right now in the West, there's still a man, right? So
I'm just hoping for
one.
Honestly, I'm hoping for one more year, and then you give me whatever you want in 2026.
Sell your soul to the devil. Get that home Grey Cup. I mean, as great as that was for Riders fans in 2013, and trust me, I was there at Taylor Field. I really believe every team, every fan base should be able to win at home to get that same joy of winning and watching the game in your season seats, in your own stadium, around your fans. Like it was something special. And, take all, fan allegiances away from things. Every fan should get that euphoria of seeing your team not only just win, but win at home. It doesn't happen very often. And it's so special that even if it were to happen to Winnipeg, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be happy.
You could take a step back and appreciate that, okay, they get what we got in 2013.
Exactly.
And then you'll get out of the stadium as fast as you can. So
I'll be long gone by then.
Right, exactly. No, I know that feeling too. Like, I think, gosh, in November was the first time I ever left a game early. Like, there was 90 seconds left, but it was, I couldn't take any more of that. At least that time, though, they gave me a quarter and a half to, like, appreciate the fact that they were going to lose the game instead of giving me, like, 30 seconds of it.
I don't know. I was glued in until the final whistle, so.
Oh, I'm sure. And it probably made a lot easier by the fact that Chad Kelly wasn't playing quarterback for Toronto either.
That did help, actually, yes. I love Nick Arbuckle's story. Went from walking dogs, like he was giving up on football until he got a phone call, and his wife said, go, take that chance. And he did. And now he's made a very successful CFL career out of it, even though he may not have as many starts and, years under his belt as a starter that he might have liked. He's a Grey Cup champion, Grey Cup MVP. Like,
yep. And he got
kind of hard to argue against that career now.
He kept getting put in the worst situations too. So it's not even all on him. So,
exactly.
That was one of those things that when I took a step back, it's like, okay, I'll appreciate that. I'm going to change the channel now, but I appreciate that. Because, of course, everywhere we went on the way back to the hotel, it's on all the screens. It's like, oh, maybe I'll look this way for a while.
Isn't there a hockey game supposed to be on? Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there some hoops? Let's watch some NBA, man. Come on. Bucks. Okay, so last year, of course, the Riders make the conference championship, the West championship. Your expectations for this year, what? Have got to be in the Cup, right? As a Riders fan?
Yep, absolutely.
Got to make that next step, right?
Totally, 100%.
Okay.
And when you look at, Winnipeg came out and just dusted them. That was Winnipeg's best game of the year, was in that West final last year.
Yeah.
They knew what the Riders were going to do. I remember, I think it was Nick Dembski said all week leading up, I'm not worried about this. I know what they're going to do. We'll be fine. And everybody was questioning it. And sure enough, Kenny Lawler went out and just absolutely torched the Riders secondary. And Dembski had himself a really good game. And it was the best complete game that the Bombers played all season long, including their defense. The Riders had no response, no answer at any point. And I think at least for the Riders, they're thinking about that, especially when your I know it's preseason, but both your preseason games are against Winnipeg. And then you play them 3 more times. So you're going to see them 5 times, probably 6 times. They're probably going to meet in the playoffs. I think we can be fairly confident in saying that, barring some sort of weird Edmonton Elks, Trey Ford miracle happening, because I don't see BC being, there at the very end.
I mean, I'm glad you said that too, because I don't have a lot of confidence in BC. I think they're a mess, honestly.
I think they'll be Rourke will be better this year than he was last year. I think he was put into just an awful situation last year where he was signed and immediately had to learn a new playbook and start the very next week. Meanwhile, being a Canadian quarterback, you're doing 35. I think I asked Matt Baker, the head of PR for the BC Lions, how many interviews did he do in that first week, including scrums and
Jesus.
whatever? And he said it was over 30.
Yeah, and then you're also coming in and taking over for Vernon Adams, who's very popular in the locker room.
Already had that, camaraderie with the receivers. They had something really good cooking there on offense.
Right.
Now you have someone who's different, right? A different quarterback comes in, and just the timing's off. And Rourke didn't play in the last, 2 years outside of a couple preseason games in the NFL.
Yeah, he's practice squad guy.
So you're not getting any reps, right? So he really hadn't played in 2 years, and now we're expecting him to come back and be what he was. Well, it wasn't fair to him.
And if you think about it too, he played 9 games in 2022. Mm-hmm. Like, they were fantastic. But we also remember Jake Mayer, like, first 4 or 5 starts in the CFL, 300 yards every game.
Yep.
I don't like the fact Jake Mayer's your backup because he's working with Mark Mueller again. That's when he had his best production. He's got time to just sit and not be the guy. He can get used to the offense. I could see him being the guy for the next 5 years after Trevor goes. Like, that's the way that could go. There was something not working. There was something not working in Calgary, and it might not have been him.
Well, I will say this about Jake Mayer, and I will always say I'm not his biggest fan, but he wasn't the problem with the Stamps last year. No. His receivers couldn't catch a cold. They were brutal for him. The drops that they had, the bad routes, like, I get it. They're getting younger, and the turnover is happening there, and they won't say it's a rebuild, but it is a rebuild in Calgary. Mayer didn't get much help.
No.
So he's a guy that can come in and win you some games. Is he going to be that, like, if Trevor Harris gets hurt again, and it's a significant injury where he misses, more than 6 games, Mayer could probably win a few, but
yeah, well,
you're going to be that guy.
That's my litmus test for backup quarterbacks is, if I lose my quarterback for a month, can we go 2-2?
Yeah, can you go 500, right? So
right.
Mayer could probably get you 500 in the regular season. Is he going to win you playoff games if you're the Riders? I don't know. I could be way wrong on that, and he could, have this Ryan Dinwiddie explosion when Dinwiddie had his start to 2008, I think it was, where he was setting records for how many passing yards in his first career starts he was having. He could go off for something like that. Who knows? But he's a better option what the Riders had last year with Shea Patterson. But I can't see it being more than, just the Riders. Honestly, their success relies on the health of Trevor Harris. If he's healthy going into the playoffs, they have a legitimate chance to be playing in that Grey Cup.
Okay, Alex, we'll let you get out of here, but I have one more question for you, non-CFL question. Okay, so on your, I was Googling you. Did you feel it? I was Googling you. And
that's what those guys were. Okay.
Right. And I found out that, okay, so you listed your fandoms as the Riders and who's ever playing the Stamps. I like that. Okay. You listed the Broncos. And you listed the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I did, yeah.
Like, how? Is it Mario? I mean, like.
Well, growing up,
how did you become a Pens fan?
I picked all my teams as a kid. I think I would have been about 6 or 7 years old. So it would have been around that 1992, 93 time, based on their logos. I really like the Broncos logo. I really like for some reason I like the Penguins logo. And I mean, like every kid, I was collecting hockey cards, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, I fell in love with Jaromir Jagr. And to this day, that's my favorite player of all time. I don't think anybody will ever pass him in that role for me. I don't know how much time you guys have. Probably not enough. I have an argument why he is the greatest hockey player of all time. That's a totally different show, though.
Oh, too bad. That's catnip for me. You know,
one day I'll break that argument out. I could write a thesis on it.
I've always thought that one of the interesting things about hockey, when you have this GOAT debate, is that there is a debate. It's not really clear. Yeah, okay, the default is Gretzky. Mm-hmm. But you can make a legitimate argument. I don't believe in the NBA you can make a legitimate argument. I mean, it's Jordan. Maybe you can talk about LeBron. But it's not like in hockey, you can make the case for 5 or 6 guys. You can start talking about some of these Team Russia guys, well, as being the greatest hockey player of all time.
Yeah. When you get into different eras, that's where you're going to have problems, right? You could look at Ovechkin breaking the goal scoring record. Easily the greatest goal scorer we've ever seen. Is he the greatest hockey player? No.
I don't think so.
And what's the criteria for it? Is it a two-way player? Because Gretzky wasn't a two-way player. Sidney Crosby's a much better two-way player than Wayne Gretzky ever was. Mm-hmm. Could Gretzky have a lot of success?
Gretzky had a lot of assists as well.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm not trying to downplay anything on Wayne Gretzky here. Don't get it twisted.
No, I mean, but again, I just think it's interesting that you can actually have that. There are 6 or 7 legitimate cases to be made. So I would love to hear your Jaeger.
If Mario Lemieux stays healthy, is he the greatest hockey player of all time? If Bobby Orr stayed healthy, you can make the argument he's the greatest hockey player ever. And you wouldn't normally say that about a defenseman, right? So, and then, I mean, I'll throw a name out there that nobody ever talks about in the GOAT race for hockey is Martin Brodeur.
Yeah.
Brodeur.
Nobody ever talks about goalies. He's the greatest goalie. He's single-handedly won them championships. I mean,
scintillating.
You could make an argument if you believe that goaltenders are people too. Kind of, they're like the kickers of hockey. Yeah. You need a good when you need a good save. It's just the same thing when you need a good kick. You never realize how good
you don't appreciate them until you don't have them.
Exactly.
Well, I've always said this, you know, I've been living out in Europe for quite a while. And, you know, I've always said this, that the most thankless position in soccer is to be the goalie, because the only time you see them on the highlight clips is when they're getting burned.
Exactly.
It's just like, and they got it past him. That's the only time it's like being dunked on in the highlight clip constantly. Mm-hmm. You know? It's just like, and you know, same goes for hockey most of the time. I mean, I saw that one playoff game the other night where they took 18 shots on goal in the overtime. They hit the 19th, and like nobody could talk about the goalie's performance for the losing team. Right, because he let the last one go.
Right,
and he had like this magnificent game. I forget which game it was. It was in the last round, in the previous round to what they're playing now. But yeah, completely thankless position. Just like the kicker, just like that punter in the CFL.
There you go, full circle.
The punter battle in Saskatchewan is important.
That's right.
Right. Okay. Well, Alex Dorma, thanks for checking in with us today. Piffles Podcast, I assume you can get that wherever you download your quality podcasts.
Absolutely. We're everywhere. You can't ignore us anymore. We'll have the show on YouTube. It's on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Music. We're everywhere. We're easy to find.
Okay, all the typical ones. I'm going to put Joe on the spot again. Joe, you want to close this out? You got any words of wisdom?
Oh, if you're asking me for wisdom, I mean, look at the logo I'm wearing.
Yeah, W for wisdom, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Well, and no, actually, what Alex was saying when he was picking a team by its logo, that's how my pod partner over on the terminal picked it. I'm not the biggest Jets fan in my hometown because of him, and he picked it because he liked the logo, and he stuck with it. And grew up in Pittsburgh, could have been a Pens fan, turned away from that. It was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing something else. So
missed out on 5 championships.
yeah, he came and joined us in the this is how Winnipeg Sports treats us club.
Right. All right. On that note, this has been the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. For my co-host Joe Pritchard, I'm Oz Davis. Oh yes, and for our guest Alex Dormuth of the Piffles Podcast, this has been the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. We will talk to you next week.